On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Tina Filipski about how to be a content creator and how to create content that matters. Hi there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and I'm very excited today to have a great guest with me, Tina Filipski. She's like the managing editor, person in charge of PPV Magazine, and really appreciate you being here, Tina.
Thank you so much, Kirby. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to jump right in with a question about content. We hear every day, content is king, content is king. And I'm sure, or at least I think, as a member of the media, you got to be going, yeah, so we've known that for years. Of course content is king. So in marketing today, can you tell us, why does content matter so much?
Great question, Kirby. There's a couple of different kinds of content. There's editorial content, which is largely for an educational purpose. And then there is content marketing, which is a marketing technique that smart marketers are using these days, where they're curating and creating content and posting it to try to drive and influence customers to take some sort of action. So those are the two different kinds. For PPB, largely we are doing editorial content, which is focused on educating our members to be better at what they do, whether it's sales, customer service, product development, running a small business, all of those kinds of things. They look to us for those how-tos, for tips and ideas to be more successful at what they do to make their business a success. So it's one way that we go about fulfilling our mission to our members to ensure their success. So content matters because it's rich information, and information is power.
Absolutely. So kind of to your point, I mean, it's so important to know what you're trying to accomplish. What are your goals before you even start to try and create content, essentially?
Absolutely. Yes. So that sort of leads me into talking about, some of the ideas to create good content is being relevant, knowing your audience, knowing who your audience is, understanding them, knowing what makes them tick, what worries them, what are they thinking about, what keeps them up at night, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So those are some tips that you could give. Like, I mean, one of the things I'm as you and I know each other a little bit, I'm trying to create content. I'm trying to practice what I preach. And so, being relevant, to make sure that I'm speaking to the audience I need to is a huge piece.
Yes. And the best content does a couple of different things. It tells a story. So that means that you're trying to connect with the emotion, at an emotional level with your readers or viewers. So you can do that by maybe using your own personal experience or the experience of others. Writers should be knowledgeable. So you should have either experienced what you're writing about or be able to talk to some people who have and be able to kind of tell their story. Another tip is, use how-to articles when you can, because people really want to learn. They, human beings inherently want to get better at what they do. So if you have tips, strategies, top 10 lists, those kinds of things are going to grab eyeballs. Length in print, we can run a little bit longer articles, give a little bit more background, a little bit more detail. I think if you're posting on the web, you need to keep it short, get right to the point. So again, lists, bullets, all of those things will increase the likelihood that your readers are going to read the piece that you put up there. Also, your headline is critical. You want to write a headline that grabs attention, because your headline is your hook to get your reader into the story. Also, if you're posting online, a general rule is post about 50% of the time curated content. That means content from other sources. About 30% of the time original content, And then another 20% or less would be promotional material. So you want to have more educational than promotional material from a marketing standpoint, as a general rule.
Yeah.
I think it's also a good idea to get regular feedback on the content that you're posting. Ask your readers, what kind of information do you need? Maybe you can have a poll on your site. We do a readership study every year for PPB, really effective in helping us know what are they working on, what is giving them heartburn, how can we help. Also read what your competitors are writing, see how you might be able to do it better, where are the gaps, and read anything else, find out what else your readers or viewers are reading so that you can see what they like and what other stories can you tell that will help them.
Man, those are super super tips, Tina. I really appreciate it. I'm curious. One of the things that you mentioned here, and I'm going off script. I hope that's okay for a second. Just because I'm curious, you mentioned about surveying your readership, and I think I've kind of tried a little bit of that, and I think I become frustrated because I don't get a ton of response. But maybe that's normal. What kind of response do you get?
Well, I think if, just depending on how many you're surveying, 2% or 5%, I mean, it's really statistically, it would depend on your total audience there, but what you really want is the feedback in itself.
Right.
So if you are getting feedback from the people who are reading, then that is probably the best that you can hope for. And then if you get a lot of feedback from people who are just reading your content every once in a while, that's even better.
Right. Well, I guess I asked the question, Tina, just to say, look, if somebody's watching the show and they're gosh, I'm not getting much feedback, I think it helps to hear from someone like you say, hey, the percentage of people that are going to respond is pretty low, and that's normal. And so I think that's good to know. Finally, PPB magazine, as you mentioned, operates in the promotional products industry, which is a niche to a certain extent. What are some advantages about operating inside a niche like that?
Oh, well, there's several advantages. Probably the first one would be just the wealth of subject matter experts that we have at our fingertips. And we have PPAI has a terrific membership. Lots of people are extremely successful at it, have been doing it for many, many years. They're very generous in sharing their expertise with others. So, if we want to do a story on family businesses, we know, we have, 10 companies just right at our fingertips that we can call on, and they know us, they trust us, and they're willing to tell their story and share their experience with our readers. The other thing is the credibility of being PPAI's flagship publication. Of course, if you're in this industry, of Promotional Products Association International. You're likely a member, and so the association itself carries a great deal of credibility, and therefore that's transferred to our publication. So our readers trust what they read in PPB. Also, we have a lot of strong relationships with other associations and organizations in the awards industry, the trade show industry. So if there's data that we need or ways that we can work together for any kind of projects, we do a lot of that so that we can share some of our content.
Yeah, that's great stuff. I think you mentioned it. I think within a niche you can create credibility, and that's really powerful. So, Tina, thank you so much. You've answered my 3 questions. I give everybody a chance to ask me 1 question, so I'll turn it over to you.
All righty. So, Kirby, my question for you is, I know that you worked for another distributor before starting your own company a few years ago. What was the most surprising thing that you encountered or that you discovered after launching your company?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I think the thing that pops into my head is when I left, I was with a large distributor in our industry, and I have a great relationship. They treated me great, so there was no animosity or anything like that. But frankly, I was really concerned. I had no personal relationships with suppliers. All my relationships were through that distributorship. And so I was really concerned. What would pricing be like? What would service be like? What challenges would I have just even in dealing with getting credit, again, nobody knew who I was. And so the biggest surprise really was how welcoming suppliers were, how great they were to work with, how much they wanted to help me be successful. And I want to be careful because I don't want this to come off as a veiled shot at the former place I worked with, because they were great. I was just pleasantly surprised with how, in organizations like PPAI are a big part of that, suppliers were very willing to help educate me, help me get our business up and running, and I was pleasantly surprised at how that made our transition be relatively successful. So that's probably the biggest surprise, I think.
That's terrific to hear, though.
Yeah, it is. It's a positive, right?
Good for you. Absolutely.
Well, cool. Thank you, Tina, so much for taking the time to be a part of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll have to do it again sometime.
I hope so, Kirby. Thank you again for a terrific opportunity.
Absolutely. And that wraps up another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching, but wait! Can you do me a favor? Please subscribe to my channel. If you haven't done it already, the way to do it's right over here. And hey, if you want to watch the last episode, check that out over here. Again, before you leave, subscribe!